crazy as it may sound, People's Republic, like socialized economy. And so what I'm saying is that I don't buy this stupidity, the state, it's so in ecology, with all regulations and so on. I don't think ever in the history of capitalism the state played such a role today, with all these ecological aspects, need for environment, infrastructure, and all that. I mean, the role of state is so crucial. So again, I simply don't buy this story, interaction of society, decentralized, who cares about the state? More than ever, the state is crucial. We literally cannot survive. I mean, you can imagine still in the 19th century, the state disappears, somehow local communities would survive. Today, you cannot imagine it even. So again, all I'm saying is that we should just, how should I put it, accept the struggle at that level. What I don't buy is, how should I put it, this alternate modernity dream. Like, now I will say something horrible for some leftists. With all my critique, and I'm more critical than ever of the United States, I'm very sorry to tell you, but if I were to choose American or Chinese model of capitalism, maybe I would choose American, nonetheless. Because, what is China today? It's something very strange. It's basically a communist country where the main role of the Communist Party is to totally oppress the working class, to make the field clear for unbridled capitalism. The best place to be today, if you want to be the most ruthless capitalist, is China, on condition that you don't mess with politics, of course, Forget about those Falun Gong sects and so on. No, this is because they didn't want to be controlled by state. Today, China turned totally pro-religious. They're openly saying, because they know that in this explosive capitalist development, there are dangers of social disintegration, and you need religion or some forms of traditional community spirit to prevent social explosion, which is why they fully, religions are literally, sincerely, it's not just a dark strategic tactic communist plot. They support religions. No, the problem is two things. An intellectual from China told me, you can criticize Marx, whatever, even communism as such in academia, more or less. Okay, maybe he rhetorically exaggerated, but nonetheless. He told me, but first, don't mess with ecology too much. You can do a little bit. For example, they told me that there are already big problems with that Yangtze or what, Yellow River Dam, that first, it's already leaking, Point two, they made, because they didn't take into account some kind of moon power of attraction, whatever, it didn't simply raise, the level of water was raised at a different, how should I put it, in a different angle, so that, to cut a long story short, at one side they emptied a city, but which didn't go underwater. On the other side, a city which was supposed to, it's chaotic, so you don't mess with that. And finally, the ultimate fear, it's nice irony for a communist country, to allow any kind of independent trade unions or whatever, because, the conditions are terrifying of the workers' exploitation. People die. For example, are you aware, I read this, these are official data, that in China there are every year around 2,000 disturbances. By disturbances, they mean something very precise. They mean local unrests which are so strong that police cannot deal with them, that army had to intervene. So it's a traumatic situation. So that's what I'm saying. Okay, we criticize United States politics. I totally agree. But let's not forget, the problem is capitalism. Just to conclude with another nice joke, which nonetheless I like. A friend of mine was recently in China and visited a philosophy institute. One of these 4 million anonymous cities, which are a dozen in China that we don't know that even exist. Okay, they invited philosophy institute, big building, 4 stores, and so on. But below, they still had this kind of an old socialist communist tradition, a panneau, board where they announced the results, And he discovered, my friend, they still have a 5-year plan in philosophy, I love this idea, this year we developed this and that. And now this, I imagine then, what a wonderful would have been to have a conversation with a Chinese philosopher, researcher there, and you ask him a simple question does this table, with all its qualities, exist independently of my perception? He would say, I'm sorry, this is part of the plan for 2008, we haven't yet. Like, this bureaucratic, there is something liberating in this idea, I think, to rely on bureaucracy. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit, so maybe we should call it a day. But history repeats itself and so on. Maybe we meet again.